Hello honeys! Natsuki Mikuru is a critically misunderstood character from the original Aikatsu series, whose motivations and experiences I have analyzed to an unhinged extent. This is a thorough deep dive containing spoilers for the entire original series. If that's okay with you, let's get started. Mizuki and Mikuru's unit Double M breaks up for good in episode 173 of the original Aikatsu anime. After starting out as kindred spirits, they part ways as virtual strangers. They had a partnership whose ending was inevitable as soon as it began, a domino effect in which working together somehow resulted in an unbridgeable emotional divide. And if you've watched my Mizuki deep dive, I hope you'll be just as frustrated as me by how subtle yet obvious this deterioration seems in retrospect. In order to understand Mikuru as a character, we need to understand how her partner, Mizuki, shaped her into the idol she ends the series as. And before that, we need to understand where she started and what she values. We rarely see Mikuru outside of Mizuki's perspective, but we know that she lives and works at her family's gardening shop, Natsuki Green & Garden. According to the Aikatsu official guidebook, she's been helping to run the shop since she was a child. That's where her love of plants comes from, as well as her dream of becoming the world's best gardener. We never see her family, but since Mikuru is a teenager and not shown to be the shop's owner, we can assume that her family does live and work at the shop with her. As far as I've seen, no one has ever questioned the fact that Mikuru doesn't go to school. We know that she doesn't because series director Reiji Kimura told animators that if she did go to school, she'd be in her second year of high school during Double M's activities, so she's around 16 to 17, just like Mizuki. That means that she would have been in her third year of middle school when she and Mizuki first met, when they were around 14 to 15. Another interesting detail is that both her official profile and the Aikatsu series' 10th anniversary book lists remaking clothing as one of her hobbies. Her signature outfit is based on a school uniform, which she's worn since that first middle school age appearance. Is her outfit a modified version of her middle school uniform? Was DIY fashion a bigger part of her character during her conceptual phase? Does this mean that Mikuru dropped out of middle school and has been wearing the uniform ever since? We'll probably never know. Those same sources also list surfing as one of Mikuru's hobbies, something that's only shown in her constellation dress animations. All of this background helps us get an idea of what motivates Mikuru. She's shown to be a creative person who channels that creativity into flower arrangement. She's also unconventional, with a strong drive to follow her passions rather than conform to traditional norms. In Japan, her dyed hair would be an extra strong indicator that Mikuru probably wouldn't have fit in at a normal school anyway. Maybe that's why she's so focused on excelling at the family business instead of schoolwork. Along with creativity and nonconformity, Mikuru's third key trait is ambition. She spent most of her life learning about plants and perfecting her customer service, and has been rewarded by being consistently ranked as a top gardener despite her young age. She takes responsibility for her family's shop and seems on track to inherit it one day. She puts a lot of pressure on herself to succeed, as she later tells Mizuki, "I get really anxious every time I prepare a flower bouquet for a customer too. Am I doing everything they want? Am I answering their expectations? So whenever that happens, I take a good look at my customer. I focus only on them and think about exactly what kind of flowers they really want. Anything to make them smile from the heart." When Mikuru is working at her family's shop, she's helping people. The better she gets at gardening and flower arranging, the happier her customers will be. And the happier her customers are, the more confidence she gains in herself. The pressure might make her doubt herself in the moment, but she's gained so much experience that she knows how to overcome those doubts. She knows how to remind herself that all people really want is to see the results of her hard work. That's enough to make them feel cared for, at least in a professional setting. So with all of her confidence in herself and her creative problem-solving skills, Mikuru makes a fateful flower delivery to the concert hall green room of Japan's top idol, Kanzaki Mizuki. Mikuru isn't shown to have much interest in idols initially, but she does seem to have at least a passing awareness of Mizuki. In the same way you probably know basic information about many celebrities you don't follow closely, Mikuru knows Mizuki's name and has a general idea of what her usual style and persona are. So when she enters the green room and sees Mizuki looking troubled, she notices that something is different about her. When reflecting on this first encounter, Mikuru later says, "From when I first laid eyes on her, Mizuki stood out to me as a flower more beautiful than any other. She seemed a bit depressed though, so I couldn't help but want to cheer her up. Seeing her made me want to bring out all the radiance of her flower." Mikuru is immediately attracted to Mizuki, and her attraction motivates her to approach Mizuki despite it being unprofessional. Mikuru attempts to initiate conversation by complimenting Mizuki's costume options, which she's intensely focused on. Mizuki reciprocates by explaining that she's feeling uninspired and unable to change. This seems like an easy problem to solve for Mikuru, and she excitedly applies her experience in arranging flowers to arranging a costume for Mizuki. Mizuki's manager tries to stop her from interfering, but when Mizuki defends her, Mikuru feels emboldened. She finishes the costume and proudly shows it to Mizuki, sure that her instincts will be correct. When Mizuki accepts her suggestion, Mikuru is excited. She may not know much about idols, but Mizuki has already made a strong impression on her, and as a recipient of her flowers, how could Mikuru not take the extra opportunity to make her happy? Mizuki ends up thanking her by showing her around backstage, where they get to talk privately. Mikuru recognizes that the audience members waiting for Mizuki's concert are essentially her customers, and through that logic she understands that if she gets nervous when working with one customer, facing so many at once must make Mizuki very anxious. She turns out to be correct, and the two of them are able to connect over their desire to make others happy, as well as the pressure that their perfectionism puts on them. Their conversation goes so well that Mikuru is invited to stay and watch the performance, where Mizuki wears the costume that Mikuru picked out for her. Mikuru later tells Mizuki, "Even though I used to think of nothing but flowers, it only took an instant for you to make me want to sing, dance, and be with you." Even though they part ways after this meeting, Mikuru's experience with Mizuki makes a big impact on her. She has a newfound respect for idols, and Mizuki in particular, for making so many people happy. And furthermore, singing and dancing alongside Mizuki starts to seem like a pretty fun way to accomplish that goal. You know, hypothetically. Fall and winter pass as usual for Mikuru, who continues to work at the gardening shop. But sometime in spring, after the start of a new school year for most girls her age, Mizuki reappears in her life. We don't get to see how it happens, but we know that Mizuki recruits Mikuru to become her new partner and train under her new agency. This must have been pretty shocking. Mikuru accepts the offer, and all we know about her decision process comes from what she says after their debut. I won't say that this was an easy decision, but once I saw how passionate Mizuki was, I felt that there might have been some greater meaning behind our meeting. To find that answer, I decided to follow her and open the door to idoldom together. To Mikuru, meeting the top idol by chance and developing a personal connection with her was an exciting coincidence. But having the top idol remember her enough to seek her out and recruit her is too extraordinary to dismiss. Mikuru may have no experience in singing or dancing, but she's creative and driven, and thanks to Mizuki, she has a genuine interest in exploring those skill sets. But at the same time, accepting Mizuki's offer also means accepting a future where she'll be constantly comparing herself to someone who is, by all measures, way out of her league. It's easy to see why it was a difficult decision. When she agrees to join Mizuki, Mikuru is humbling herself. She's stepping out of a world where she's well respected, where she's supported by family, and where she instinctively knows what to do. With Mizuki as her new partner and mentor, Mizuki will be the one with all of that support and knowledge. Mizuki will be the one she needs to surrender her ego and expectations to. And she does, because she respects Mizuki and trusts that they have the same values. It's a scary leap of faith, but she can't resist what feels like fate knocking at her door. The two of them start training at Mizuki's new studio that spring. It's conveniently located right down the street from her gardening shop. And that's a good thing, because Mikuru has convinced Mizuki to allow her to continue working there part-time. Even with so much pressure to catch up to Mizuki and debut as her partner, her family's business is still an integral part of Mikuru's identity. She couldn't possibly give it up, and she's grateful to Mizuki for respecting that part of her. Their training lasts a full year, and by the next spring they are firmly united as partners. They speak candidly with each other and openly exchange ideas. When Mizuki gives her constructive criticism, Mikuru is able to justify her creative choices in a way that Mizuki accepts and appreciates. But Mikuru still makes an effort to internalize and incorporate Mizuki's feedback. Mizuki encourages this effort by reframing her feedback in combination with Mikuru's original idea, which creates a satisfying compromise. Still, there is a hierarchy between them. Even with a compromise, Mikuru still wants Mizuki to teach her how to adjust her performance according to her original feedback. The compromise was mostly just an exercise in communication, and the real learning comes when Mikuru works at emulating Mizuki's more advanced techniques. Mikuru isn't shy about asking for that. She doesn't need Mizuki to cuddle her, and she doesn't waste a second of their limited practice time. Their dynamic is most accurately encapsulated by their final words before their first performance together. Mizuki says, "I definitely won't make you regret coming along with me," and Mikuru replies, "I won't let you regret choosing me." For Mizuki, their partnership is about making sure that Mikuru has a positive experience, and for Mikuru, it's about proving herself to Mizuki. Their shared goal of making people happy through song and dance has started to split into these two separate goals, and this is where it all starts to go wrong. Mikuru and Mizuki debut under the unit name Double M about a year and a half after their first meeting. Their first performance goes smoothly, and they hold a press conference directly afterward, where Mikuru formally introduces herself to the public. Mizuki talks about their partnership using grand language, comparing them to a brand new galaxy, and telling the reporters, "We'll show you a dream that can only be born from our combination. As a first step in proving how far our possibilities span, we will be entering the Partners' Cup. Look forward to it." Mikuru does her best to match her partner's energy, declaring, "We'll definitely show you." The Partners' Cup is a tournament for idol duos to compete in, and Double M debuts just in time to participate. We don't see their conversation about entering the Partners' Cup on screen, but based on the timing and future events, we can assume that it was Mizuki's idea rather than a mutual decision. It seems like Mikuru knew about it before the press conference at least. Double M continue their training in preparation for the tournament and are surprised by the appearance of two of their fellow competitors at their studio one day. Hoshimi Ichigo and Otoshiro Sera are idols from two of the local idol schools, and Mikuru recognizes them from her studies. Mizuki has made sure that she's familiar with the idols who are active in their industry. When Mizuki prompts her to greet them, Mikuru refers to Ichigo and Sera as two of her great predecessors in the idol world. Although she does respect her fellow idols, Mikuru is older than Ichigo and Sera and can't resist teasing them a little. She finds their youthful earnestness endearing and laughs with Mizuki over their comments on their compatibility. Ichigo and Sera are there to hear the story of how Mizuki and Mikuru first met, and Mizuki surprises Mikuru when she also describes their meeting as impactful. Mizuki tells the story with a lot of pride and makes it clear that Mikuru's original gesture at picking out her costume was a defining experience that she's very grateful for. There's a difference between how Mikuru describes her feelings that day compared to her current feelings, though. When she talks about her feelings for Mizuki from that day, she describes Mizuki as really passionate, crazy cute, and really incredible. Respectful but still affectionate descriptors. But now, a year into their training, she describes Mizuki as a blindingly bright moon that made her way down to be by my side. She continues the metaphor, explaining, "The moon shines so much brighter when you see it close up." Mikuru now realizes that Mizuki isn't just a pretty girl who plucked her out of obscurity, she's an overwhelming force of discipline and ambition, and that overwhelming force expects her to become her equal one day. Mikuru is understandably intimidated by Mizuki now that she's seen the reality of how hard she works and how much it takes to reach her level. Even though Mikuru appreciates that Mizuki seems to genuinely care about her, enough to accept her as a partner, deep down she understands just how wide the gap is between their skill levels, and this is one of the first times we see her voice the fact that she does feel intimidated, which Mizuki doesn't react to. When the Partners' Cup arrives, Double M is scheduled to perform first. They seem relaxed before they go on, and when they're done they receive a score only 1 point below the maximum. It's an incredible result, but Mikuru's composure falls apart while they wait for the final rankings. It's her first competition as an idol, and she has no frame of reference for how she compares to the other contestants. She questions how calm Mizuki is, and Mizuki flips the question to frame Mikuru as the antsy one, implying that her own calmness is normal. Mikuru stops pacing to defend herself. "Why wouldn't I be? The suspense of not knowing who will end up on top is killing me." But Mizuki is able to redirect the conversation, using flowers as a metaphor to reassure Mikuru that they had done their absolute best and that there was no real penalty for losing. If another pair won the cup, they just have to use the defeat as motivation to try again. Mikuru is receptive to this explanation, although she looks a bit taken aback by how simple the answer seems. Still, she surrendered herself to Mizuki and trusts that Mizuki has thought through every possible outcome of the competition. There is no reason left for her to worry if Mizuki has a plan in mind. More comfortable now, Mikuru expresses some curiosity about whether any of their competitors will actually be better than them. She's caught off guard when Mizuki gets more serious and says that she's confident that there will be at least one pair who's at their level. But despite the threat of defeat, Mizuki has already detached herself from the outcome and accepted that the audience will judge them accurately. Mikuru finds that very cool and is excited by the harsh tone Mizuki has given to the competition. Notably, Mikuru says, "That's what it means to be an idol, identifying the audience's judgment of a winner and loser to be the defining measure of an idol." And Mizuki says, "Right." Mizuki directly praises Mikuru's competitive spirit, and Mikuru declares that she wants to reach her full potential with Mizuki. Mizuki reciprocates that goal, confirming their shared desire to continue competing together. Ichigo and Sera turn out to be the pair closest to matching Double M, but they fall short of beating them. Mikuru and Mizuki find them after the tournament ends to congratulate them on their performance. Mizuki leads the conversation, acknowledging the four of them as equals. But her words of encouragement to Ichigo and Sera have a different meaning to Mikuru. Mizuki asks, "Don't you agree that you can run fastest when you're on your own?" She takes Mikuru's hand then. "Running hand in hand just slows you down, right? So the next time we meet, there's no telling which pair will have progressed further." Now, Mikuru knows that Mizuki is far ahead of her in terms of skill and experience. On a conscious level, she knows that if there's any flaw in Mizuki's performances, it's her. She's the one slowing her down. And Mizuki openly admits that to their competitors, holding up Mikuru's hand and specifically describing her as the reason that she's forced to slow down, the reason why Ichigo and Sera have a chance at beating her. Mikuru's goal is to prove herself to Mizuki, to become Mizuki's equal and resolve her feelings of being indebted to Mizuki for choosing her as her partner, so she follows up Mizuki's comment right away. "But together we can run to the ends of the earth, wouldn't you say, Mizuki?" It's a pointed comment to remind Mizuki that even if she's slowing her down, she still has something to contribute. She can still support Mizuki and propel her forward. She can be useful. Mizuki agrees, and they end the conversation with Ichigo and Sera on a positive note. Their rivals declare that they'll dash at full speed, and Mikuru fires back, I won't let you get ahead. Mizuki showed me the path to becoming an idol after all. This is a great sign for Mikuru's competitive drive, and Mizuki seems happy with her for saying this. But it's also a bright red flag signaling Mikuru's insecurities. She has to assert herself and prove that she can keep up, and she has to show that she's grateful to Mizuki for the rare opportunity she's been given. Double M's schedule gets even busier after their partner's cup victory. Mikuru is struggling with the workload, but Mizuki is happy to pack in as many jobs as possible. At first, Mikuru can't believe that Mizuki actually works this much. She thought training was intimidating, and now it turns out that professional work is even more demanding. When Mizuki insists that their workload is normal, Mikuru asks, "How do you keep all this up?" And Mizuki replies, "I just have to. Who else will bring the Aikatsu world to the next stage?" Mikuru is surprised by this answer because she had become an idol under the assumption that their shared goal was making people happy. That's what she was initially interested in and had signed up to do. So hearing Mizuki reveal that she has grander ambitions is a bit overwhelming. Mizuki isn't just an extremely hard worker, she's turned out to have a distinct sense of duty to lead the entire idol industry. Double M has already reached the #1 spot in the idol unit popularity ranking, so Mikuru struggles to imagine what else Mizuki could possibly be aiming for. They've had explosive success right away, a result they should be happy with, right? But Mizuki shows Mikuru the individual idol rankings, and Mikuru is disappointed to see that she's not even in the top 20. Mizuki is in first place, of course, but she's down at number 21. Mikuru is used to winning as a gardener. She's always been ranked at the top, and seeing herself in a low placement, regardless of how realistic it is embarrassing to her. Mizuki tries to cheer her up by praising how many places she's gained since their debut, but it's not enough to comfort her. "I'm still so far away from you," she says. "I need to catch up ASAP." Whatever satisfaction Mikuru had gained from Double M's success, it's erased in an instant by the proof that her own goal of catching up to Mizuki is still far beyond her reach. Mizuki doesn't give her a moment to believe that that goal is possible though, replying, "That just means I need to aim even higher to outrun you." To Mizuki, this dynamic works great as motivation for her to continue pushing herself. Mikuru even asks where she could possibly go from first place, and Mizuki says that she's aiming for something beyond the rankings. For Mikuru, it's her first indication that catching up to Mizuki is not a stationary destination. The goalpost will always be moving away from her as long as Mizuki is motivated to improve. Mizuki's goal is still to make sure that Mikuru is having a positive experience as her partner though, so she tries to help her. She challenges Mikuru to make it into the top 10 in the individual rankings by the next month. She says she wants them to become closer so that their experiences match up more, but the method she chooses leaves all the work of becoming closer to Mikuru. Mikuru tries to ask which experiences Mizuki has in mind, but Mizuki refuses to elaborate. Mikuru is forced to figure out a solution to Mizuki's challenge on her own, but she believes in herself and quickly finds inspiration. She asks Mizuki if she should hold a solo concert, and Mizuki doesn't answer immediately, evaluating Mikuru's serious expression. She's satisfied with how committed Mikuru seems to be to the idea and gives her another hint. Find a premium costume to wear at her concert. That's the only way to make a big enough impact to affect her ranking. Mikuru leaps into action, asking Double M's manager, Honoka, to arrange a meeting with the designer of her favorite fashion brand, Vivid Kiss. Unfortunately, their schedule is tight and the designer is out of the country. Mikuru doesn't give up though. She loves Vivid Kiss and can only imagine herself wearing their designs. Picking any other brand would mean accepting an inferior outcome, so she hinges her success on getting in touch with the designer in time for her solo concert. From this point on, Double M make an extra effort to emphasize Mikuru as an equal partner to Mizuki in their interviews. Mikuru is open about maintaining her part-time job, her love of Vivid Kiss, and her excitement about her upcoming concert. But she begins to feel overwhelmed while working at the gardening shop one evening. She hasn't made any progress on contacting the Vivid Kiss designer, and she's not willing to change her plans. Exhausted, she starts to fall asleep at the shop's counter after closing, but is woken up by a phone call. The call is from a customer requesting a rare flower. Natsuki Green & Garden is the only shop in Japan that currently has it, and there's only one bulb left in stock. The customer is requesting a difficult color too, one which demands precise care. Mikuru doubts whether it's even possible to fulfill the request between her work, her training, and the lingering costume complications. She can't bring herself to reject the order though. She knows how happy this rare flower would make someone, and she's the only person who has the ability to make it happen. She confidently tells the customer that she'll have it ready in time, and hypes herself up to pull off a time management miracle. Mikuru struggles through the next few days, racing between interviews, lessons, and her shop. When Mizuki asks her to take a break during practice, she reflects on how difficult everything feels. "I thought that I was surviving on my own strengths, but really, it was only thanks to Mizuki that I've been keeping up." Mikuru's confidence has taken a hit. Mizuki lives every day packing as much work as possible into every possible moment, and she doesn't feel able to do the same. At least not yet. She pulls herself together and addresses Mizuki. I'll definitely make my solo live a success and become an idol who can pull even you along. In grappling with the reality of Mizuki's strength and willpower, Mikuru has internalized Mizuki's mindset. Mizuki doesn't settle for first place, she aims beyond it. So just like Mizuki, Mikuru won't settle for keeping up with her partner. She'll surpass Mizuki and finally be the one to outrun her. This is exactly what Mizuki wants to hear, but it's the nail in the coffin for their pre-debut relationship. It's not about bonding over their shared roots or deepening their understanding of each other anymore. It's a race. It's a competition. Mikuru doubles down on her work. She's more focused than before and commits more of herself to being a reliable professional regardless of how difficult it is. When she refuses to cut corners during a variety show, the filming runs over time and forces her to miss the last step of her customer's flower order. She's just a few minutes late, but that's enough to ruin all of her effort up to that point. She cries in frustration and then falls asleep at the shop counter, too exhausted to make it inside. The next morning, the morning that the order is due, Mikuru is relieved to see that the flowers finally bloomed. It's the wrong color, but it's still a beautiful and rare plant. She decides to deliver it with an apology and races to the address she's been given. When she gets there, she's surprised to be greeted by Mizuki. She asks if Mizuki had made the order, but Mizuki says no, before none other than Vivekiss's top designer Kayako greets her as well. Mikuru recognizes her immediately, and Kayako tells her that Mizuki was the one who told her to place the order. Embarrassed, Mikuru presents the flower and apologizes. But luckily, Kayako doesn't mind the mistake. She loves the end result and praises Mikuru's effort. Kayako invites Mikuru to see Vivekiss's new premium dress and tells her that she's been watching all of her interviews. That's how she knows that Mikuru is a loyal supporter of her brand. And now that Kayako has the rare flower as proof of Mikuru's character, she's happy to give her the premium dress as a sign of her support. Mikuru is stunned by this development. "I did it," she says, looking at Mizuki in disbelief. In those last few days, Mikuru had barely had time to think about her costume problem, but somehow putting it to the back of her mind and focusing on her idol and gardening work had led her to the costume solution anyway. It's a miraculous resolution after all. By the time Mikuru's solo concert arrives, she's had time to process how that miracle manifested itself. Mikuru's decisions to hold a solo concert and get a premium dress had been prompted by Mizuki originally, but Mikuru had been the one to decide that she'd also complete a special flower order on top of everything else. That extra layer of difficulty, the one that pushed her to her breaking point, had been something she brought upon herself. Or had it? Because Kayako said that Mizuki asked her to place the flower order, so that extra challenge wasn't even entirely her own either. Mikuru is upset with Mizuki for this. She's been trying so hard to prove herself and take on challenges of her own so that she can feel worthy of Mizuki's partnership. She's a little embarrassed to find out that Mizuki had set the whole thing up. The only reason that everything worked out in the end was that Mizuki made sure she wouldn't fail. Didn't Mizuki trust her? Did she doubt her enough to plan things in secret just so she wouldn't mess them up? Mikuru confronts Mizuki before she goes on stage at her solo concert. "Geez, Mizuki, you kept the whole thing with Kayako a secret. I can't believe you." Mizuki apologizes. "Sorry, but I wanted you to realize it yourself, that Natsuki Mikuru has the ability to overcome any trial by her own strength, that she has an amazing power." This reassurance softens Mikuru. Sure, she didn't like that the plan was kept a secret, but if Mizuki had good intentions, then that relieves her anxieties. At the end of the day, the flower order had been a sign of Mizuki's faith in Mikuru after all. She lets it go. A couple of days later, the idol rankings update and Mikuru has jumped from 21st place to 8th. Now firmly within the top 10, Mizuki gives her her reward, the reveal of her ultimate goal, surpassing legendary idol duo Masquerade by that September. Mikuru doesn't fully understand what Mizuki means by this, but she's excited to be let in on the plan and accepts it without question. Masquerade retired a long time ago, and they still hold the position of the most popular idol unit of all time. Surpassing them will be a massive challenge. The next time they discuss this goal, Mikuru has fully internalized Mizuki's ambition. They've just finished watching news coverage full of praise for Double M, and Mizuki states her intention to keep up their momentum. Mikuru agrees. "We'd never get anywhere if this satisfied us." For a moment, the two of them are on the same page. Then Honoko walks in and confirms that she set up the press conference that Mizuki asked for. Mikuru hasn't heard anything about a press conference, and Mizuki reveals yet another secret plan of hers. She's decided that Double M will challenge another idol unit named Soleil in a showdown concert, and she briefs Mikuru on the details on their way over to reveal it to the public. Mikuru plays along at the press conference, and they frame the challenge as a mutual decision. But only Mizuki can explain why they chose Soleil. And when the reporters get excited, Mizuki slips up and says, "That reaction is exactly why I chose them." After they leave the venue, Mikuru compliments Mizuki on her idea. She's very excited by the surprise challenge and starts to think about how much potential it holds for them. "Soleil means sun, doesn't it? I can't wait." Flowers grow and bloom by bathing in the sun's light. But Mizuki once again shifts the conversation. Mikuru, what did you think of the reporters' reactions? Once our match against Soleil becomes reality, the Aikatsu world will be imbued with passion. Even people who aren't interested in idols might come to watch us perform. Mikuru tries to confirm that she understands the plan, asking if this is meant to help them surpass Masquerade. But Mizuki has moved the goalpost again. The objective is now to energize Japan with the power of idols. Mikuru is caught off guard and withdraws from the conversation. I can't even imagine. Just how high are you aiming? But Mizuki pulls her back in. With you, it doesn't matter how high. Together, we can reach heights unheard of. Mikuru is touched by Mizuki's confidence in her, and the widening gap between them is temporarily bridged. Mikuru may not have any clear idea of their plans as a unit, and no decision power over their activities, but Mizuki's support has become enough for her. All she needs to do is trust her. When Soleil accepts Double M's challenge at their own press conference, they refer to Double M as a cliff high enough to make their knees shake. Mikuru doesn't understand why they'd be intimidated by them, but Mizuki only laughs. Mikuru comments on how happy Mizuki seems to be that they've accepted the invitation, and Mizuki responds vaguely. Do I? It's a little odd that she's being evasive, but Mikuru doesn't dwell on it. Soleil are first to perform at the Showdown concert, and Mikuru is blown away by their skill level. She's so impressed that she starts to feel intimidated and goes to Mizuki for reassurance. Soleil was really amazing on stage, she says, and Mizuki agrees. They certainly were. Those three hadn't performed together in a long time, but they were so in tune with each other it was as if they'd never been apart. Mizuki is perfectly calm, and she's mostly attributing Soleil's success to their compatibility as partners. Even after a long hiatus, they're all so close that being on the same page is never a question for them. Mikuru instantly feels pressured. Oh man, I don't think I can match them. I don't feel like I'm nearly as good as the girls in Soleil. She's talking about not being as good a partner as the members of Soleil are, but Mizuki doesn't catch that. You won't be alone, she says. Double M is both of us. Mikuru tries to explain. It's because we're together that I'm worried about holding you back. But Mizuki isn't really present here. She's not actually listening. She dismisses Mikuru's concern entirely. Don't worry, all we need to do is go out there and give it everything we have. Mizuki goes on to praise Soleil and emphasize that facing them will help them grow, but that's not what Mikuru was talking about. Mikuru is at least placated by the fact that Mizuki isn't worried about whether or not she's holding her back. She lets it go again. That's kinda cool, Mizuki. You look really happy. Mizuki just nods and smiles, and the conversation ends there. Mizuki goes back to reading her magazine, and Mikuru comments that she always seems to be reading the same one about Masquerade. Mizuki somewhat apologetically explains that she knows the whole thing by heart by now, but she can't put it down. Mikuru presses her further. Mizuki, I still don't really understand. What kind of idols were Masquerade? When Mizuki opens up to her and explains that Masquerade were the idols that inspired her to work so hard, Mikuru listens intently. She wants to internalize more of Mizuki's mindset in order to catch up to and eventually surpass her. And if Masquerade is part of it, then she'll make sure to take them seriously as well. Mizuki reveals another part of her motivation. I'll do anything if it means getting even a single step closer to achieving the eternal fame of a legendary idol. I can feel it. Masquerade is calling for me. Mikuru finally understands why Mizuki wants to surpass Masquerade and what she hopes to gain by doing so. She finally relaxes, content that she's once again made it onto the same page as her partner. At least emotionally, she's caught up to Mizuki again. The two of them prepare to go on stage, where Mikuru compliments their costumes. Mizuki admits that she chose hers to match Mikuru's preferences, and Mikuru feels flattered. It's nice to know that Mizuki is still able to depend on her on a creative level. That's enough to give her her confidence back. As they walk down a hallway, Double M are swarmed by reporters. Mizuki elegantly rejects them, and Mikuru compliments her on her professionalism. Mizuki seems confused by the praise, but she leaves for a last-minute meeting before they can talk about it any further. Following her lead, Mikuru decides to make a last-minute stop of her own at Soleil's green room. Without much prompting, she opens up to the three Soleil members, even though Ichigo is the only one she knows personally. To be perfectly honest, I felt kinda blue after seeing your performance. Soleil just blew my mind. You guys were awesome. Like, if Soleil were a sunflower in full bloom, I'd be nothing more than hamster feed. So basically, I totally lost my confidence when I saw how amazing you were. But now I understand that I can't be like that. What I need to do is put on the best show I can, both for the audience and for you. Please enjoy our show. Mikuru leaves after getting those feelings off her chest and meets up with Mizuki again backstage. I'm done with being nervous, she tells Mizuki. I just want to have fun and entertain our fans, and above all else, I want the three Soleil girls to enjoy our show. This is a conclusion that Mikuru has come to on her own, a return to her original mindset of making people happy, now with added respect for her competitors. Mizuki praises her and combines Mikuru's feelings with her own. Can you see the legend now? No legend can be formed by an idol standing alone. You need a beloved rival and someone like you to stand by my side. Each step we take is a page of the history we leave. One day we will become legends. Let's surpass them. Feeling fully included in Mizuki's plans and like they've reached some form of equality, Mikuru is fired up. Double M is able to defeat Soleil, and just like at the Partners Cup, they find their competitors to congratulate them on their performance. Mizuki praises the Soleil members and thanks them for their role in motivating them. Mikuru doesn't get a word in. Double M's next challenge is the Aikatsu 8 election, a public vote which will select 8 idols to form a temporary unit and embark on a summer-long concert tour. Mizuki and Mikuru are both confident that they'll be selected, and they end up ranking 1st and 4th respectively, separated by an idol named Eureka in 3rd and Ichigo in 2nd. All 8 members of the new unit are picked up by their tour bus, and Mikuru makes an effort to be friendly to the other girls. She still sticks close to Mizuki though, since Ichigo and Seiwa are the only idols there who she's spoken with before. Mizuki is appointed as the group's leader and takes charge of production for the tour, so despite being her partner, Mikuru quietly follows her lead like everyone else. She gets a little more familiar with the other girls when Mizuki shows them the introduction video she's had made for them all. Mizuki has decided the order of the introductions herself, but they don't follow any clear order like their rankings or other groupings. Mikuru is a little surprised that her own video is placed in the middle of the batch. While it plays, Mizuki comments, "I really respect you for being able to balance your gardening work with your idol work," to which Mikuru replies, "I could only do it because of your help, Mizuki." Mizuki's video is the very last, preceded by Seiwa and Ichigo. Mikuru says, "It's hard keeping up with you, but I respect you for trying to figure out the future of Aikatsu." Mizuki answers, "Don't worry, Mikuru, I believe you have the ability to stand at my level." After the introduction video meeting ends, Mikuru leaves to practice for the next day's concert. The rest of the group are all highly skilled idols, and Mikuru is keenly aware of how far behind she is. Thanks to her extra effort, the concert goes smoothly and they all head off to the next venue together. As they tour across the country, Mikuru strays farther and farther from Mizuki as she gets to know her fellow unit members. She gets the closest with 2 girls she hadn't met before, Otome and Maria. Those 2 are the friendliest of the group, so it makes sense that they'd be the most welcoming to Mikuru. By the end of the tour, they've all gotten a lot closer. Mizuki hosts a pajama party for everyone and they start reminiscing on Double M's debut. Mikuru is a little uncomfortable with Eureka referring to them as her enemy, but she laughs off the comment. After the party, Mikuru heads to her individual practice for the night. She's been training alone before every stop on the tour, and Ichigo and Seiwa finally discover her secret. She welcomes them to talk as she takes a break and tells them, "I started Aikatsu way after you all did. That's why I have to work even harder to catch up." They ask her if she's been practicing by herself all summer and are surprised when she says yes. "Mizuki and I have a goal we want to accomplish," she explains. Apparently, Ichigo also knows about Mizuki's goal of energizing all of Japan through idols, so Mikuru is happy to reveal the rest of Mizuki's plan. By this September, we'll overtake the legendary idols Masquerade. Mizuki said she's always looked up to Masquerade. She said that if she could surpass her idols, our unknown future would be sure to broaden. "When I'm with Mizuki, I feel like I can go anywhere. We encourage each other, we challenge each other. I feel like we can even surpass Masquerade." Mikuru is genuinely proud to be working toward Mizuki's goal alongside her and has fully accepted it as her own goal as well. She's motivated by the idea of reaching unknown frontiers in the idol world, and Mizuki is the one who makes her feel like it's possible. At this point in time, she may not feel like she's reached Mizuki's skill level, but their emotional partnership feels equal to her, and it feels equal despite the fact she's putting in hours of extra practice outside of Mizuki's supervision. In fact, it's the added independence that makes her feel closer to Mizuki, because she knows that she's doing something that Mizuki would have done herself if their roles are switched. Aikatsu 8's final concert is a great success, and the group is disappointed to have to split up afterward. Mikuru cheers them up by reminding them that they'll all still be working together in the future. That's when Ichigo announces that she and Seiwa are planning to defeat Double M by that September, the same deadline that Mizuki has set for them to surpass Masquerade. Mikuru is surprised to hear this, but Mizuki takes the challenge in stride. It turns out that she has another perfect plan up her sleeve. Once they resume their regular activities, Mizuki tells Mikuru about her plans for an event called the Twinkle Star Cup. It's a competition in which Double M will challenge the 2 dominant idol schools, Starlight Academy and Dream Academy, to each send a representative for a duo that will compete against them. The winner will be crowned the greatest active idol unit. It's meant to symbolize them facing the strongest idols in the industry, and coincidentally, Ichigo and Seiwa are students from each school. With the right marketing and promotion, Mizuki believes that this contest could become a massive public spectacle, massive enough to propel them into legendary idol status. Mikuru is fully on board with this plan and fully believes that they'll be able to win. She and Mizuki split up to speak to the headmasters of each school, and Mikuru successfully convinces Dream Academy to build an enormous stadium just for the event. The scale of the stadium is crucial because it's meant to be bigger than the biggest one ever sold out by Masquerade. If this new stadium sells out too, it'll be clear proof that Double M has surpassed them in popularity. Even though Mikuru is confident in their plan, Mizuki seems to be anxious about it. Mikuru can tell that she's nervous about leaving the choice of representative up to each school. She clearly wants Ichigo and Sarah because of their stated desire to compete with them, and Mikuru reassures her that they'll be chosen. No other idols come close to them in popularity, so they're the obvious choice. Mizuki cheers up, and the two of them get excited for the official announcement. When it finally arrives, Mizuki clarifies to the press that Double M acknowledges Ichigo and Sarah as their equals rather than challengers. Preparations for the Twinkle Star Cup go smoothly from that point on. The promotional material drives a ton of public interest, with advertising spread all over the country. Double M still has a busy schedule though, so they don't have much extra time left to practice. They aren't intimidated. They trust each other and they believe in their abilities. Even when Ichigo and Sarah unveil their new unit called Twings, Mizuki and Mikuru only get more excited to face them on stage. This emotional high is interrupted when Mikuru learns that the Gardeners World Cup will be accepting participants very soon. It's the highest level of competition for gardening in the world, and it only takes place once every 4 years. She finds the announcement in one of her gardening magazines after practice one night and is so excited that she exclaims out loud that she wishes she could enter it herself. It's her longest held dream after all, and that year's theme speaks to her: Midnight Garden. No one from Japan has ever won the Gardeners World Cup before, and Mikuru has always wanted to be the first. Suddenly, Mikuru is faced with a difficult decision. On one hand, she's on the precipice of a legendary milestone with Mizuki as a member of Double M. The Twinkle Star Cup is only a few days away, and she's grown to love being an idol. It was their boundless, unknown future together that motivated Mikuru to grow so fast. She imagines that there is still so much that Mizuki has in mind to show her once they achieve their goal. But on the other hand, this is the first year that Mikuru is old enough to enter the competition she's been dreaming about her whole life. It's a difficult challenge and may take years of work to win. Every attempt will give her valuable experience that will demand her full attention to utilize properly. That rare flower she struggled to deliver to Kayako will be child's play in comparison. And to top it all off, Mikuru could immediately envision the garden she'd create for the competition. The theme, Midnight Garden, was a perfect fit for how she felt as Mizuki's partner. Flowers lit up by the dazzling moon. Maybe this is why fate sent Mizuki to find her. Maybe their experiences together were exactly what she needed to create this specific garden. Mikuru makes the decision to enter the Gardeners World Cup and put her idol career on hold with Mizuki in mind. Her voice actress, Suzaki Aya, describes her motivation. "I've been watching Mizuki working hard with a really big dream next to me, and I'm about to decide to pursue the dream I've had since I was little. Through Aikatsu, I have brought smiles to many people's faces, and I hope that by becoming the best in the world at the Gardeners World Cup, my own smiles will bloom again." Mikuru cares about Mizuki. She's been working hard to prove herself as a capable partner and make sure that Mizuki doesn't regret choosing her. She's emptied her mind of her own assumptions about the idol world, and embraced everything Mizuki had to teach her without question, so it makes sense that when facing such a big decision, she asks herself what Mizuki would do. And for Mizuki, there's no choice but to give your dreams all of your effort and more. In order to become a person capable of matching Mizuki, she has to give her own dreams the same weight. Even if they're separated, it's the only way to show Mizuki that she really did learn everything she could from her, that they really can be equals. It's not shown on screen, but Mikuru tells Mizuki about the Gardeners World Cup and suggests that they disband as a unit while she competes in the competition. Mizuki doesn't try to stop her, and they prepare to announce the disbandment at their next interview scheduled for the day before the Twinkle Star Cup, the same interview where they're unveiling the new costumes that Mizuki has made for their performance. Mizuki makes the entire announcement herself, making it clear that she supports Mikuru's decision and framing it as a mutual one. Now that we are on the precipice of the Twinkle Star Cup, the two of us have reached a certain decision together. We've given it a lot of thought. At the end of the Twinkle Star Cup, we, Double M, will disband. Regardless of the outcome, the Twinkle Star Cup will be Double M's final stage. Mizuki and Mikuru are expecting Ichigo and Sarah when they show up at Double M's studio that evening. They want to know the reason behind Double M's disbandment, and Mizuki prompts Mikuru to tell them her reasoning. Mikuru is happy to explain, especially with Mizuki there to support her. Putting her idol career on hold and breaking up Double M at the peak of their popularity is a big risk, but she's able to be vulnerable and honest thanks to how understanding everyone has been. So when Mizuki praises her and says, "I've just been pushing my own dream on you up until now," Mikuru corrects her. "You weren't pushing anything on me. You were just so wonderful that I found myself with another dream of becoming an idol." Mizuki continues to praise Mikuru, both as an idol and a gardener, and Mikuru feels intensely grateful. She gives all of Mizuki's praise right back, and Ichigo and Seira comment on the fact that they hardly feel like a pair on the verge of a breakup. Mizuki is so wonderful, so playful and supportive that Mikuru has no room to feel awkward or sad about their limited time left together. "We really are blessed," Mizuki says. "Our last concert will be on the ultimate stage to decide who stands at the top of the idol world." Mikuru agrees. "Yeah, we are blessed." After Ichigo and Seira leave, Mikuru thanks Mizuki for not stopping her decision to pursue gardening. Mizuki's response is exactly what she'd imagined. "I'd never be able to stop your sparkling eyes. Your face was that of a prose. It made me feel like you were meant for gardening. You need to make your dream come true." It's a confirmation that Mikuru really does know Mizuki, that they become united as a unit, and that the love they have for each other is real. Mikuru repays her by refocusing on their original goal. "Thanks, Mizuki, but before that, we've got to win the Twinkle Star Cup." The two of them get back to practice, eager to make the next day's performance as good as it can possibly be. They're both fired up, and Mikuru formally thanks Honoka for her support when she tells him to get some sleep. When they do wrap up for the night, Mikuru stays to capture her feelings in a concept sketch for her Gardener's World Cup entry. Mizuki finds her, and Mikuru is proud to show her the drawing. "I want to make a fantastical garden built around the theme of a moonlit beauty," she tells her. "You were the inspiration. It's not only under the sun that flowers shine, they can also shine under the night sky. I want to make a garden lit by the moon." Mizuki loves the idea. "I don't think an uninformed opinion like mine will mean much, but it sounds magnificent." Mikuru is relieved and grateful to have Mizuki's approval, especially since she based so much of her decision on how Mizuki would feel about it. "One day, I'll make my dream of becoming the world's best gardener a reality and repay you for all you've done," she promises. Mizuki says that she'll be waiting, and the two of them finally get some sleep. The next morning, on the day of the Twinkle Star Cup, Mizuki and Mikuru support Ichigo and Seira, now united as the unit Twins, as if they were all teammates. Double M perform first, and they admire the dresses Mizuki had made for them before they go on stage. "If my outfit is the midnight moon, then yours is the midday sun," Mizuki explains. "Though they may be exact opposites, they were created to draw out the brilliance in each other. They fit each of our images." Mikuru couldn't agree more. "Yeah, they're the perfect chords for us to decorate our last stage with." Double M's final performance brings the entire massive stadium to tears. After they return to their green room, Mizuki asks Mikuru if she gave it her all. "Of course," she says, but she soon begins to cry. The ending is sinking in, and all of Mikuru's gratitude can no longer be contained. She stands up and gazes at Mizuki before thanking her and hugging her tightly. There's nothing left for them to do but enjoy each other's company, and when Mizuki starts to tear up as well, Mikuru knows that she isn't alone in having mixed feelings about their disbandment. "It's over," says Mizuki, and Mikuru steps back. "Yeah, let's go. We need to see our greatest rivals." They watch Twins perform from the audience and are moved by the intense energy that surrounds them. "I'm glad our final performance was with Twins," says Mikuru, and Mizuki agrees. The performance had been unlike any of their previous ones, and Mikuru feels a new emotion as she realizes how hard they must have fought to pull it off. Facing Double M must have been a thrilling challenge. No, she thinks. Facing Mizuki must have been the thrilling part. A national online vote is open to decide the winner, and points are tallied from across the country. It only takes a few minutes, and Double M join Twins on stage for the final count. It's a very close match, but Twins just barely wins. Mizuki and Mikuru are both shocked to have lost their first competition, but Mikuru recovers quickly, and checks Mizuki's expression next to her. Mizuki applauds them, and Mikuru knows that everything will be okay. Seira and Ichigo both give their victory speeches, and then it's Mikuru's turn to address the audience. She reveals her new goal to the public for the first time. "I'm going to challenge for the Gardener's World Cup this year and aim to become the #1 gardener in the world. Or so I'd like, but that might be a bit too much for me. Still, I'll do everything I can, and once I hit my limit, I'll try even harder. It's true that my dream might seem unachievable, but when I see Mizuki, who's the same age as me, running headlong toward her own titanic dream, I feel like I can't afford to give up." Natsuki Mikuru setting sail for her new dream. "I'll never forget the support you all gave me in Double M. Thank you so much." Mikuru is nervous to reveal her gardening ambitions on such a huge stage, and the weight of them starts to intimidate her a bit as she envisions a future without Mizuki there to lead the way. But she has to be brave enough to fulfill her promise. Her debt to Mizuki will remain unpaid until she finds a way to surpass her after all. And as Mizuki gives her own speech, Mikuru realizes what she's been missing. "I have now done Aikatsu on the greatest stage with my greatest rivals with the greatest passion," says Mizuki. "Today my dream has come true. But my Aikatsu is not over. The fire within me is ever burning. So long as you continue to smile for us, Aikatsu will never die." It all clicks then. Rivalry. Ichigo and Seira had talked about it in their speeches too, the driving force behind their monumental achievement that day. Mizuki had taught her the importance of competition. Mizuki had found them their greatest rivals in Twins. So of course, the obvious answer to repaying Mizuki would be to become her rival as well. A real rival, one who could compete with her at her full strength. The Mizuki that she had known was always held back by a partner, so maybe it was time to set her free. Free to fight at her full strength the next time they met on stage. Mikuru is excited to share this revelation with Mizuki when they talk on stage after the stadium is cleared. Mizuki tells her that she'll be supporting her new dream, and Mikuru tells her that she's just made another one. She takes a second to collect herself, knowing that this is another big decision, before confidently declaring, "Next time, I want to face you as a rival, not as a partner." Mizuki looks confused, so she keeps going. "I got kind of jealous watching twins get to throw their entire beings into facing you. They lit a fire in my heart." Mizuki accepts her challenge. "I see. I can hardly wait for that day." Mikuru promises to return once she's achieved her Gardener's World Cup victory, and asks Mizuki which of her many dreams she'll be chasing next. It's a little strange, but not completely out of the ordinary when she says that her hopes are on Ichigo. It must be another one of her mysterious plans. Only the audience knows that a chasm has just opened up between them. Over the next few days, Mikuru prepares to start on her moonlit garden. She has a flight to catch, and she expects Mizuki to see her off at the airport. When Mizuki tries to say that she can't go after all, Mikuru begs her to come say a proper goodbye. It's extremely important to her that they have that final moment together. Luckily, Mizuki relents and they share one last handshake at the airport. Their chapter as partners has officially ended. Although Mikuru hadn't imagined that anything would change between them after Mizuki's overwhelming support of her decision, she turns out to be mistaken. In an interview with ACNH, series director Riichi Kimura and head of series composition Yoichi Kato implied that she is informed of Mizuki's decision to retire from her idol career within only a few months of their disbandment. This must have taken Mikuru by surprise, since part of Mizuki's Twinkle Star Cup speech had been about her undying passion for the stage. Soon after receiving this information, Mikuru would have received VIP booth tickets to an upcoming Ichigo solo concert. She plans to go, assuming that Mizuki will be there and that she'll be able to show her support for her former partner. She arrives to the concert with a bouquet of flowers, relieved that Mizuki has not yet publicly announced her retirement. Yoichi Kato notes that the line, "I made it in time," is quite meaningful. But Mizuki is nowhere to be seen. Concerned, she gazes down at the flowers she's brought with her. The concert begins without Mizuki, and it's not until the final song of the night that she finally arrives. She's led by a girl whom Mikuru has never met, and Mikuru calls out to greet her. Mizuki returns the greeting and walks away. That's odd, she must be thinking. Mizuki and the stranger sit together, and Mikuru doesn't try to talk to her. Maybe something important is going on. After the last song, some of the people in the booth encourage Mizuki and the other girl to join Ichigo for the encore. Mikuru still doesn't interrupt, but she seems happy that Mizuki is being encouraged to go up on stage. Perhaps feeling out of place, Mikuru leaves the venue after the encore. At least she got to see Mizuki perform again. Mikuru returns to her gardening work and doesn't see Mizuki again for nearly a year. The Ichigo concert had been in December, and Mikuru visits Mizuki again in the following September. She's heard that Mizuki is re-debuting with one of her previous units, TriStar. TriStar was a 3-member group that Mizuki had made before recruiting Mikuru for Double M. If Mizuki is relaunching the group, it's a great sign that she hasn't given up on being an idol after all. TriStar's re-debut is planned to take place as part of a unit tournament, and Mikuru surprises Mizuki with another bouquet of flowers on the day of the competition. She bursts into TriStar's green room and expresses her support. "Every time I see you on stage, I can feel motivation flowing inside me. I'm so looking forward to this today." Mizuki thanks her and promises to show her a good performance. True to her word, when Mikuru returns to the audience, she's amazed by TriStar's combined power. TriStar's reunion reassures Mikuru that Mizuki is in good hands. The retirement threat had been worrying, and their awkwardness at the Ichigo concert had been weird, but it seems like the two of them will be okay after all, as rivals, just like Mikuru promised. At some point between September and January, Mikuru ends up winning the Gardener's World Cup. Her goal of returning to the idol world turned out to be an extremely effective motivator. It's a title she expected to spend years chasing, but now she finds herself as the world's best gardener after only a little over a year of effort. With that dream wrapped up and even more international fame than she'd had as a member of Double M, Mikuru returns to Japan to begin her solo idol career. And this time, she doesn't go looking for Mizuki. It's time for her to get serious about their rivalry, and that means striking out on her own. She picks up where she left off as a brand ambassador for Vivid Kiss, and kicks off a passionate concert tour. After one of these concerts, Mikuru is visited by Kayako and Shinjo Hinaki, an idol she recognizes from TV and magazine appearances. Hinaki is a fellow fan of Vivid Kiss, and she and Kayako are looking for inspiration for their new premium costume. Hinaki is also a student at Starlight Academy, the same school that Ichigo attends and which Mizuki once attended as well. Hinaki is preparing for the school's biggest competition, the Starlight Queen Cup, which will decide the top student of that year. Mizuki had previously explained the importance of the competition to Mikuru, so she's impressed to hear that Hinaki is attempting to win it. Mikuru suggests that they all explore the city for inspiration together, and Kayako escorts the girls on an energetic shopping trip. Mikuru has a ton of fun hanging out with them, but by the end of the day they haven't made much progress on finding an idea for Hinaki's costume. Seeing how disappointed Hinaki looks that their time is up, Mikuru suggests that they continue their exploration in a premium dress design retreat. She asks Kayako if they could use Vivid Kiss's seaside cottage, the same one where the two of them first met, and Kayako agrees enthusiastically. The three of them meet up at the cottage the next day, where they plan to stay overnight in order to make as much progress as possible. But a problem soon arises when a film crew shows up looking for Kayako. She'd been booked to film a documentary special on Vivid Kiss that day and had totally forgotten when she agreed to host the retreat. As Hinaki prepares to give up on their plans, Mikuru thinks quickly. She comes up with the idea of framing the documentary special around their design retreat. When she explains that they'll be coming up with a premium costume that day, the film crew is excited to go along with the adjusted plan. Thanks to Mikuru, the day is saved for everyone. Mikuru is mostly present to help out, and she focuses on looking after Hinaki. Some light teasing here, some friendly advice there, and she mostly just has fun watching the younger idol take everything so seriously. But when she compliments Hinaki at dinner and doesn't get a response from her, Mikuru starts to feel a little concerned. Later that night, she finds Hinaki looking upset outside and goes to check on her. Mikuru convinces Hinaki to confide in her, and Hinaki explains that she doubts her own ability to win the Starlight Queen Cup. Mikuru is familiar with that line of thinking and offers her some advice. The thing about flowers is that they bloom only as beautifully as you care for them. Their beauty comes from the effort you put in. On the other hand, if you're unable to make them bloom, you start regretting why you didn't try harder. Once she's brought up regrets, she starts to reflect on her relationship with Mizuki. When I got the offer to form Double M, I felt a lot of pressure about whether I could even be an idol. Plus, it was Mizuki of all people. I doubted whether I could keep up, whether I could be as good as Mizuki. But the thing is, after thinking and thinking and thinking some more, I realized something. That I'm not Mizuki. No matter how much I struggle, what I'm capable of isn't going to change. What's important isn't whether you can use a fever appeal or not, or whether you become the Starlight Queen or not. It's when all's said and done, whether you're left with any regrets or not, I think. She asks Hinaki if she has any regrets about her work, and when the answer is no, she tells her, "Then go wild and leave nothing behind. Paint the Starlight Queen canvas in your own color. I'll lend you a hand." This is a tremendous evolution of Mikuru's self-image. Before she became Mizuki's partner, she had been a confident and accomplished person. Mizuki had told her over and over that she believed that Mikuru could catch up to her as an idol, that Mikuru could be as good as her one day, and Mikuru had believed her. She'd exhausted her own self-confidence and learned to rely on Mizuki as her sole supporter. She'd become a shadow of her former self, her sunny disposition eclipsed by a moon she'd never reach. It was only after leaving Mizuki that she got to know herself again, that she remembered how strong she was in her own element. At the Twinkle Star Cup, she'd been hesitant to believe that she had a chance at becoming the world's best gardener, but in reality, that title was well within her grasp. Perhaps it was this cognitive dissonance that clued her into the fact that her struggle to surpass Mizuki had always been exercised in futility. She could internalize Mizuki's mindset, she could make all the same choices as Mizuki, but that wouldn't make them the same. It wouldn't even bring them closer, because she wasn't Mizuki, and she didn't have anything to offer by pretending to be her. Mikuru, as it turns out, is a natural mentor. She ushers Hinaki inside, out of the cold, and is stopped when Hinaki suggests that they follow her advice and go truly wild. Kayako had mentioned wanting to paint the exterior of the Vivid Kiss cottage, and the supplies are laid out in plain sight. They stay up late together, painting an enormous mural. When it's discovered by Kayako and the film crew the next morning, Hinaki is nervous that they went too far. But Mikuru isn't. If her experiences had taught her anything, it's that there was no room for regret as long as your heart was in the right place and you did your best. Kayako loves the mural, and it finally gives her the inspiration she needs to complete Hinaki's premium costume. Mikuru helps Hinaki train over the next few days, and she watches proudly when Kayako delivers the completed dress. Mikuru praises them both. "It's totally like a piece of fine art on its own. You match it awesomely, Hinaki." She and Kayako watch Hinaki's first performance in the new costume, where she finally overcomes the technical challenges she'd been so worried about. With the Starlight Queen Cup looming on the horizon, Mikuru soon receives a special request from Mizuki. She wants them to perform as Double M again as part of a commemorative concert for her old school. Mikuru agrees, happy that they finally found a chance to perform together again after a year and a half of working separately. She expresses that feeling to Mizuki when the concert date arrives and they're waiting to perform. "I'm so happy that we got the opportunity to hold a concert together again." Mizuki thanks her for agreeing to her request, but Mikuru isn't finished. "Please, I'm the one who should be thanking you. I went from just being another girl to being Kanzaki Mizuki's partner idol. I performed in front of huge audiences and experienced so many things that normal people can't, and it's all thanks to you. I've even been able to book some fairly big venues for myself recently." As much as she's grown, Mikuru is still incredibly grateful to Mizuki for introducing her to the idol world. Her promise to become Mizuki's rival is still a promise she's made out of love and respect for her former partner. She needs Mizuki to know that she hasn't given up, and that she's still fully intent on repaying her by fulfilling her wishes. "Mizuki, do you remember that day?" she asks, and Mizuki answers, "How could I forget?" Mikuru doesn't catch Mizuki's downcast expression as she continues. "Today we stand shoulder to shoulder in our unit, but one day I want to face you as a true rival. I feel the same way even now." It's meant to be a triumphant moment in which they acknowledge each other as equals and look forward to a future in which they both push each other forward, just like Mizuki had always talked about when they were partners. So when all Mizuki says is, "This will be Double M's final farewell," Mikuru is confused. It almost sounds like Mizuki is rejecting her. Luckily, she continues. "The next time we're together will be as two solo idols, Kanzaki Mizuki and Natsuki Mikuru. I'll be looking forward to it. But for today, I'd like you to sing with me to support the next generation." There it is, that's what Mikuru had been hoping for. Mizuki goes on to explain the importance of the Starlight Queen Cup, and of course Mikuru sees the importance of inspiring new idols. The two of them head on stage united by this shared goal, the first one they've shared in a long, long time. After the performance, Mikuru asks Mizuki who will be the next to inherit her legacy. Mizuki doesn't answer, too busy gazing out of a window at Ichigo. Mikuru returns to her own work after this and makes an extra effort to support Hinaki by sending her a bouquet of flowers ahead of the Starlight Queen Cup. Her message reads, "Hinaki, tomorrow's your time to shine. Please accept this humble encouragement from your big sis as a reward for all of your hard work." In flower language, the gladiolus means victory, and the strelitzia symbolizes the queen's radiance. The competition lasts 3 days, and Mikuru attends with Kayako on the day that Hinaki performs. It's her first taste of what Mizuki must have felt while watching her own growth as an idol. "I think I understand what Mizuki used to talk about," she tells Kayako after Hinaki's performance. "Having your junior come closer to rivaling you bit by bit is just so incredibly, absolutely exciting. I want to compete on the same stage as Hinaki." Even while they're apart, Mikuru feels like she and Mizuki must be walking down the same path. Mizuki and Mikuru meet up a few times after this, once at the after party for the Starlight Queen Cup, and again as MCs for a checkpoint in a marathon organized by Ichigo. But as far as we know, that's where their story ends. And if you know anything about Mizuki, you know that it's a completely different story than Mizuki would have told. As satisfied as Mikuru seems to be by the outcome of their relationship, it is by no means an equal or even a reciprocated one. At no point did Mikuru really know Mizuki. She never knew most of the people who Mizuki thought were most important to her, and she never had much of a clue about what was really going on behind the scenes of Mizuki's grand plans. The only part of Mizuki she ever saw was the perfect polished facade of a very tired idol. And to be clear, none of that is Mikuru's fault. Mikuru did her best at every step of the way, and her most miraculous feat was escaping a partnership which would have crushed a more vulnerable person. Mizuki chose Mikuru for a partner because of her unique confidence and creativity. Sure, she needed Mizuki's help to learn relevant idol skills, but she didn't need Mizuki to take complete control over their relationship. That's something Mizuki did subconsciously, because she didn't know how to be a good partner herself. When they first met, Mizuki listened, made herself vulnerable, and compromised her own vision, because they met at a rare time in her life where she felt stuck. But as soon as Mikuru gave her the answer she needed, it was full steam ahead again. Mizuki had no more need to listen, or be vulnerable, or compromise. Not when she knew where she was going and what she wanted to do. Sure, it would take a while for Mikuru to catch up with her, but she was happy to take her along for the ride. She'd make sure everything was taken care of in the meantime, and then one day they'd be a power couple, just like Masquerade. While they were training, Mizuki would at least listen to Mikuru's ideas and respect them, but once they debuted, Mizuki stopped letting her in. First, it was Mizuki's decision to enter them in the Partners' Cup, which she did to compete with Ichigo and Starlight Academy. Then it was a secret Vivid Kiss flower plan, a gesture that was meant to be supportive, but which ultimately undermined Mikuru's self-confidence. Next was the challenge to Soleil, another decision Mizuki made purely to compete with Ichigo. And at that point, she becomes so invested in chasing Ichigo that she was no longer listening to Mikuru at all. She had become fixated on using both Mikuru and Ichigo as tools to achieve her goal of surpassing Masquerade. By the time the Aikatsu 8 tour happened, she was more emotionally invested in her rivalry with Ichigo than she was in her partnership with Mikuru. And paradoxically, Mikuru had completely lost her sense of self in favor of emulating Mizuki. Double M's Twinkle Star Cup defeat and ensuing breakup were inevitable. When they went on stage that final time, they were worlds apart in emotional state. Mikuru was ending a brilliant chapter full of gratitude and love for Mizuki. Meanwhile, Mizuki felt heartbroken and betrayed after assuming that Mikuru would follow her forever. But Mikuru was honest with Mizuki about what she was feeling up until the very end, and Mizuki only felt betrayed because she only started listening when Mikuru had already decided to leave her, when it was too late to fix things. Mizuki's mindset and approach to work make her genuinely unhappy on a deep level. If Mikuru had known Mizuki better, if Mizuki had told her how she really felt at any point in their relationship, Mikuru was probably the one person who could have helped her break out of it. But because Mizuki always seemed so happy and perfect, Mikuru didn't hesitate to emulate her mindset and ended up showing Mizuki how it feels to be the one rejected in the name of competition. The fact that Mikuru never learned how hurt Mizuki was by this is what makes their relationship so tragic to me. Mizuki practically formed Mikuru into a weapon of her own personal self-destruction and was crushed when she suffered the consequences. That's sad. For most of the time that I've been a fan of Aikatsu, I've struggled to understand Mikuru, but now I finally see that she is a victim of circumstance. She only had one window into the idol world and the wonderful relationships that the rest of the cast had with each other, and Mizuki blocked that window at every opportunity. Mikuru's miracle was her own ability to find a way around Mizuki and find a place with Hinaki, Kayoko, and hopefully more new friends in the future. The kind of future that she'd always been capable of creating, with or without Mizuki. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me what you think of Mikuru and Double M in the comments below, and look out for our special community unit showcase next week. Bye bye!
Risk Girls Cup! Let's